Hi, my name is Carla, and I wanted to tell you about my experience leasing out my roof to a solar power company to put panels on the roof while I prepaid and assumed production rate for 20 years. I hope you enjoy this third of a three-part series of videos on going solar.
Oh, I think I'm gonna go outside for a second and just look around. Oh, wow. Right across the street from me. I never realized it, but that house has solar panels on the roof. All over the roof. That's great, right across the street. I'm starting to work on my documentary, and I'm gonna call it Go Solar. Hi, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my thought process when I went to have Solar City put some solar panels on top of my house. I chose to prepay my electricity for 20 years through Solar City. If you're going with Solar City, it gave me a much cheaper rate per kilowatt hour for the electricity if I prepaid it for 20 years. Also guaranteed me that there wouldn't be any rate increases because I knew exactly what I was paying for 20 years. And it gave me some sense of I wasn't sort of throwing my money away, at least by their estimates. When you install, you buy the system outright, it takes something like 15 years to actually pay that off, for it to pay itself back for you. And in 20 years, I can decide what to do with either the existing panels or potentially have new panels put on and get a new contract, or potentially buy my own system. By then it might be very cheap. So that's what I did. I'm doing this partly to help the environment, partly because it was a cheap solution, and it gives me some control over my utility bills for the next 20 years. In a minute I'll show you some of the materials that they sent to me, which they gave me estimates of what the panels would generate and how much money I would save depending on which option that they offer that I took. So what I ended up doing was I decided to prepay my electricity for 20 years through Solar City. What I did was I put on a system that would be a 6 megawatt hour per year system, and that was oversizing for my, at that time, current use. I did that because I thought I might add an electric car someday. 20 years is a long time, and I might be getting an electric car. I'd like to get an electric car, and then I get free gas from my solar panels, and also change to a heat pump electric hot water heater, which I did do from a gas hot water heater. And I might actually do some heat pump heating in the house as well at some point. Electric heat pump heating and air conditioning. But for now, I have my current gas heating and my current electric air conditioner, which is not a heat pump. So I oversized my system for the purpose of more electric usage in the future. The timeline for me, when I did decide to go forward with this process, I had Solar City come on December 7th of 2013. They came to my house, we discussed it, they emailed me the PDF files of the various proposals that they suggested for me based on what I was looking for in terms of oversizing a system. I reviewed these and I decided to go with that prepay system. From the time that they came to my house on December 7th, 2013, there was a site audit and I signed a contract and we went forward. They had some designs that came through that I had to approve, and on January 27th, 2014, so roughly 6 weeks later from the time that they entered my house, on one of the coldest days of the winter of 2014, I had about 6 or 8 men on top of my roof, and they were putting up those panels, and those are the panels that you can see that are now on my house.
Now, I'll show you some of my electric bills as well as the materials the solar power company provided to me before I signed on.
Well, here's a look at an electric bill from 1998, August 1998. And look at the cost per kilowatt hour for 99 kilowatt hours of use for all the generation and transmission charges. They've simplified it since then. But the cost per kilowatt hour, it's something like 10 or 11 cents a kilowatt hour in 1998. Then, before I got panels in, say, January of 2014, notice that the cost per kilowatt hour is going to be 11.2 plus 8.6. So that's quite a difference, 19.8 cents a kilowatt hour. So we went from 1998, about 11 cents a kilowatt hour, to 2014, almost 20 cents a kilowatt hour. Here's a typical bill, April 2015. The cost per kilowatt hour is not printed anymore because I actually haven't used any kilowatt hours from the electric utility in April at all. And you can see from the previous month that was also the case. So I don't know what their prices are now, but I can tell you what they were just a month or two ago, because you can see that I did have some usage in the last couple of months. Notice that I have a credit on my bill in April. That credit is negative $383. So I am actually not going to owe the electric company any money. In fact, even in January and February, when my panels were covered under snow, I was still working off my credit from last summer. So I have not paid an electric bill since April of 2014, I believe, when I first turned the panels on. If we look at the March 2015 bill, we have a credit of $298. So my credit has increased from March to April. Although in March, I did not have any delivery charges or generation charges because I didn't actually use any electricity. You can see that the previous month, I actually had to use some electricity off of my credit because the panels were covered in snow in February. And you can see that the amount that I used, the cost, is now 11.2 plus 15 cents a kilowatt hour that month. So in other words, that cost is 26.2 cents a kilowatt hour for 2015 February. So that's quite a bit higher than it was when I signed up with Solar City, when they told me it was 19 cents a kilowatt hour. Looks like I was paying 23.3 cents a kilowatt hour in 2014, right before I turned my panels on. So we have here March 2014. I did have some usage there when I first turned the panels on. And then all through the summer months, April through October, I had no usage from the electric company. And then I had a teeny bit in November and obviously quite a bit more in December and January and February. However, during those months, I did not pay an electric bill because I was still working off the credit from last summer. And one thing you can see from the other side of the bill, what's interesting, is it tells you what your previous bill credit was, $304.68. And it tells you the current credits of $91 and so forth to give you your current credit balance of $389.97. That $6.43 is simply the amount of money the electric utility charges to keep the bill going. This is what Solar City sent to me before I signed up with them. They sent me a full brochure about what the estimates would be about the electricity that would be generated by my system, how well it is designed based on the tree coverage, and how much I would pay. They also have a bunch of frequently asked questions that they provide to you, such as, does the solar system make financial sense for me? Can I decide to buy the solar system later? What if I move to a new home. So on the question of what are my options at the end of the contract, you can do one of the following. You can purchase your system. You can ask Solar City to remove the system for free. You can upgrade to a new system with the latest solar technology under a new contract. Or you can extend your agreement in 5-year increments. So you have a lot of options once the contract is over. So here are my solar power options comparison. You can see based on previous estimates of 19.2 cents a kilowatt hour charged by the utility, which now is much higher, it's almost 30 cents a kilowatt hour. The PPA system back in 2013, that is pay-as-you-go, I would have paid 12.3 cents a kilowatt hour, and that could go up 2.9% per year. Now, what I chose was the full prepay system. Then I got to pay 7.8 cents a kilowatt hour, and the cost was $9,110. And the savings over the next 20 years would be $9,124. That's a very big savings. So essentially I'm getting my electricity for half price. And if I do get an electric car, it is essentially free gas. My return on investment here is 6.6%. And notice to purchase the whole system would be $17,560 and a much smaller return on investment.
Of course, all of these are estimates, and they're based on a set of assumptions about electricity costs and other assumptions. For the purchase estimates that Solar City provided, the out-of-pocket expenses are calculated after federal and state rebates, and the return on investment that they provide really doesn't take into account any state energy credit or certificate programs. For example, Solar City's figures for Massachusetts are misleading because Massachusetts has a program called SREC, which is a rebate program set up to pay owners for the electricity that they generate, whether they use the electricity or push it back into the grid.
So this system is designed, it says 196% of the current usage, and what that meant is that I was actually designing for the potential for changing out my hot water to electric hot water and for adding an electric car. So I was actually over-designing my system. Today is Saturday, April 25th. This is my net meter, and it reads 97250. That's great. And today is May 2nd at 12:08 p.m. and we have 97126. On Tuesday, June 16th at 6:32 p.m. the meter reads 96089. Now I'm here at my net meter 1 year later. I have 93680. Wow, that's a lot less. And it's Saturday, March 12th, 9:35 a.m. 2016. Okay, you get it. It's going down.
That was my 5-digit net meter, which runs backwards and forwards starting at 0, so that when you see numbers like 94,000, for example, that means that the system has gone backwards 6,000 kilowatt hours or 6 megawatt hours put back into the electric grid.
27 panels on the roof of my house. So this is my inverter. And when I press this green button on the bottom, you get some data. It tells you what's happening there. And you can see that I have 27 panels that are working. It says volts DC 374.6 and volts AC 247.9. And power in wattage is about 1 kilowatt. It's 1,059 or 1,060 watts. So I'm putting out 1 kilowatt right now at this very second.
So I've presented my experience of having prepaid Solar City for a 20-year projected production rate from a system of solar panels they installed on my house. I'm not endorsing Solar City over any other company. You could choose from any one of a number of companies who might provide similar contracts. I've presented my experience with Solar City here since that is the company that I signed my solar agreement with.
Now that I've had the solar on my house for 2 years, my credit on my bill is more than $1,000. And look at the sun. It's always there for us, or mostly. Enough, obviously, if I have $1,000 credit on my bill. So yeah, am I happy I did it? Absolutely. Really happy. I have some good ideas on how to use the electricity that I'm generating from the sun. And I'm looking forward really to getting an electric car. It's not just a dream. I think it's going to happen. That'll be great to be able to take charge of my life, take charge of my bills, take charge of my electric utility bills, and in some sense my gas utility bills, because I'm using a little more electricity to heat my house now. And I think you can do it too. You know, I feel like if you do decide to go solar, whether you prepay, own your own system, or lease out your roof, in some sense you are taking charge. The power becomes something that is the power in your hand as you're controlling and you're thinking about the environment, and at the same time taking charge of your own electric and potentially gas and potentially oil utility destiny. That's about it. Solar's popping up all over the place. It's on people's houses, it's on big box stores. You see solar farms over old landfills. You see solar farms out on the cloverleaf of the highway. You see it on banks.
It's on art centers, it's on firehouses, it's on farm stands, it's on outdoor centers.
You see it on carports. You see it in parking lots. Everybody's going solar, and solar is popping up everywhere. Well, that was good of them to put on, and smart of them. That's the whole thing, right? Putting on solar is not only good, it's smart.
You have the power to take charge of your utility bills, so just do it. Remember, solar equals dollars.